Welcome back to Coxie Tutorials. This is part 4 in our FPS tutorial series, and what we'll be doing today is we're going to be making it so that we can actually shoot our enemy and damage him, and also once he takes a certain amount of damage we'll actually destroy the enemy and he'll disappear from the actual game itself. We did actually have a capsule as our enemy in the last tutorial, and I've just gone ahead and I've replaced the capsule with this model here, which I got from the asset store. And if you just go to 3D models, characters, and make sure you've selected free only, you'll be able to find this model quite easy, or just search for zombie and make sure you've got free selected as well, and it should come up pretty quickly. So just import that into your game. Once you've done that, you'll get this zombie folder here. There was actually a demo scene here which I deleted, and in the models folder there is the Z at walk, and I've just dragged that into the scene, and this is it here. I've renamed it to zombie enemy, and for the tag I've made sure that I actually tagged it as enemy. That's very important. And also I've added a Capsule Collider, which is very important as well. And this Capsule Collider, you can see that I've resized it. It's quite large because I want to make sure it covers all of the zombie, and I've scaled it to 1.2 on the X, Y and Z. So if you scale yours the same and put in these values here, you should have exactly the same as me. The only other thing I did to it was I actually when you put yours in this in the scene, this will be blue because it's actually a prefab. So I've selected this, I've gone to game object, and I've chosen break prefab instance. So this is no longer associated with this prefab anymore. Okay. And what else have I done since the last tutorial? All I did was I just cleaned up our assets a little bit. I've just added the pistol to the assets folder. I've made a prefab folder and added the prefab level, and I've also just made sure all the scripts are in the scripts folder, and that's about it. So we'll go ahead and get started on the zombie health script, and we're going to start off very basic, just like we did with the pistol. I'm trying to do it as basic as possible, and then we're going to add to these scripts as we go along, and they're going to get quite complicated and going to add some pretty cool things. But to start off with, we'll just do the most basic features so that anyone that's just learning will be able to see exactly what they need to do, and exactly how they can modify the scripts themselves in the future and add what they want to them. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So click on the zombie enemy, go to add component, new script, enemy health, and just open that up. Okay, so the first thing we're going to need, probably the most important thing, is the actual health itself. Like, how much health is this zombie going to have? So public float health equals 100, pretty standard. And if you're doing a float, you can put an F on N like that so that you know this number's actually for a float variable. You don't have to do that, but it's good practice to do that. So public float health, maybe we should change this to enemy health, like that. And we're going to need a public method, because we actually want to call this method we're going to make now from our pistol script and probably all of our gun scripts. And this is the actual method that's going to allow us to deduct health from the enemy. If we just made this a private or a void method, you can only call it from inside this script itself, and we don't want that. So public void deduct, we'll just call it deduct health, like that. And in here we will have a float, and we'll call it deduct health like that with a lowercase d, and then in here we can write enemy health minus equals deduct health, the lowercase deduct health, this one here. Okay, so all this means is we're going to get the enemy health, which is 100, and then we're going to take away the amount that we actually want to damage the enemy, and we'll be setting that amount in the actual pistol script, not in this script, okay, because we'll be calling this from the pistol script, and this will make sense if you don't understand as soon as we do that in a minute. So now we'll just make a quick private method which is actually going to be for when the enemy dies. So enemy dead, and for now we'll just say destroy game object, just like that. And then underneath this line of code here we can just say now if enemy health is less than or equal to 0, we just call the function that we just made, enemy dead. So I've just put this on the same line. This is exactly the same as having the curly brackets underneath, or having one curly bracket there and the closed one under there, but it's just nice and neat on one line because it's a very short if statement. So you can write your code like that if you want to keep it neat and tidy. It does exactly the same thing. So that's basically the bare bones for our enemy health script. So go back into the game, open up your scripts, and open up the pistol script that we did in the last tutorial. And what we're going to do is add one variable, and I'll just comment this and say used to damage enemy, and this can be a serialized field so that we can keep it private and also change the value in the inspector, and it'll be a float, and we'll call it damage enemy. And the damage that we want to do, I'll just put 10. That seems fair for a pistol. So we've got that. And now if you come down here to our shoot method that we did in the last tutorial, we've already set all this up. So now basically where we have our debug.log that tells us we hit the enemy, you can delete that. I'll just comment mine out so you know exactly what I'm doing. And in here we need to get hold of this enemy health script to start off with. So to do that we can just say enemy health, and then what we want to actually call it, I'll call it enemy health script equals hit dot transform dot get component enemy health. So we're using the same method that we used here, because the raycaster is going to hit this object, and then we're going to get hold of the object's transform, and then we're going to get hold of the component enemy health, because the enemy health script will be attached to our zombie. And then under here we can just call the actual function itself. We can actually call this public method deduct health. Okay, so enemy health script dot deduct health, and we also need to pass in our new damage enemy float. So in here we just write damage enemy. I don't know why I did that, sorry. It's having a special moment. Okay, so enemy health script dot deduct health enemy damage enemy. Okay, so save that, and if we go back into the game now and we click on our enemy, you'll see that the enemy health script, he has 100 health, and if we go and open our FPS controller, open up the don't open up the pistol, click on the pistol, you'll see that we also have our new variable, which is damage enemy, and it's set to 10. So we can change this value to whatever you would like. So if we play the game now, and I'll just select our enemy so that we can actually see his health, and if I click on the enemy, you'll see that it's deducted 10, and if I just hold the button down, it'll go all the way to 0, and then he'll be destroyed. Okay, so that is the very basic setup of damaging our enemy, and as I said, we are going to add a lot to all these scripts, and we're going to make it pretty cool. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.